How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over my planned build for Sorc for the Season 2, Season of Blood. This build is going to be a Flame Wall build. Flame Wall and all dot builds in general pretty much got a huge increase in power this league because of the changes that they made to the game. Pretty much what they did, they ended up nerfing or normalizing critical damage and vulnerable damage builds by making the increases to vulnerable damage and critical strike damage that you get on gear be additive instead of multiplicative. And then they adjusted the monster power to basically adjust and account for the fact that they're no longer balancing for crit and vuln builds, which effectively is bringing the power level up of all of the dot builds. On top of this, there are some new Vampiric powers that are extremely good for damage over time builds. So we're getting a nice little boost to power from this as well, on top of just the changes in general that are going to be highly beneficial for dot builds. So starting off with those, the Vampiric powers that we're going to be running for this build, you're going to be running to run Flowing Veins. This is just some extra damage here. We have Metamorphosis, which again is going to be used on basically every single character or every single build you see throughout this entire league because it's very, very good. And this is pretty much just a source of Unstoppable on every single class. For this, and then we are going to be running Prey on the Weak for an unlimited source of Vulnerable on things with Prey on the Weak. And then we have Domination. With this build, you will be getting 72% increased damage on this, on top of Aspect of Control. So this is going to be just that extra damage to basically spike the snapshotted kind of burning damage on the monster or on the enemies. And then we have Anticipation, which is just going to be lowering the cooldown on our ultimate skill. And that's going to be lowering our cooldown here on Inferno. And that's going to be used just so we have that extra pull, as well as we should be able to get some actually really, really big ignites or burning damage off with Anticipation, along with Burning Wall for large packs. Because if we say we have a pack of 20 monsters or 10 monsters even, that's going to be an extra 120% increased damage for Inferno when it drops, which already has a pretty big burn on it itself. So when you stack all of those multipliers together, along with the immobilization, the stun, the freeze, everything kind of spikes together and you end up with a really, really large snapshotted burning damage tick on there. For the gear itself, for the aspects, you want to be running Ever Living Aspect here. And then you pretty much just want CDR, life, and things like that on this. Reaming of the Infinite, best unique in the game for Sorc, can't beat it. It's going to be used on everything. We have Storm Swell Aspect here on the gloves. This is going to be additional damage. And then we have Tybalt's Will. This is going to be additional increased damage while you're unstoppable and for 4 seconds afterwards. And we're pretty much going to be permanently unstoppable because of Metamorphosis here, which is really good since we're basically just going to be spamming our evade every 4 seconds here. So you should be getting a near infinite supply of primary resource, so we should always be topped off for Edgemaster's Aspect here. And then we'll also have this extra damage from being unstoppable. For your boots, you want to be running Exploiter's Aspect. This is just going to be additional damage against the harder bosses in the game or things that are unstoppable. And then for your aspects on weapons, we have Conceited Aspect, just another more damage multiplier here. And then we have Smiting Aspect as well, which is just going to be increased crowd control duration. Because of how important it is for us to be having all 3 of these crowd controls on it at the same time, we want as much crowd control duration as we can possibly get. That's why we have it on our helmet. That's why we have it on this. And then we also have it on our focus here as well, if you look at the stats that you're going to be wanting to get for this. And then for your rings, you're going to be running Prodigy's Aspect. This is just going to be additional resource generation, since basically everything we're using is a cooldown skill. It's going to constantly be giving us additional mana to be using for our Firewall, so we can kind of spam these at will. And then we have Edge Master's Aspect and Aspect of Control, of course. For your gems here, again, you have Amethyst, Ruby, and you can either run Skull or Diamond, depending on whether or not you need armor or resistances. Most likely you're going to have enough resistances, so it's just going to be armor that you're really going to be going for with these. And then for our skills here, we're running Flame Shield, Ice Armor, Frost Nova, Teleport, Inferno, and Firewall. And then for your enchantments, you want to be running Firewall Enchant and Meteor Enchant. The Meteor Enchant here you're going to see is basically in order to proc Immobilization. So if we go to the skill tree here, you basically, it doesn't matter what you have these points in, they can be 2 points in anything. And then we have our 1 point in Devastation and 3 points in Elemental Dominance. And then this is where we have 1 point into Flame Shield. We have our maxed out Teleport here. You can actually move one of these points from Frost Nova into Enhanced Flame Shield if you want, just that additional movement speed every few seconds. It's completely up to you. You want these maximum points in Glass Cannon, and then you want your 1 point in Ice Armor. And then we have maximum points here in Align the Elements, Mana Shield, and Protection. And then again, this is the Meteor. We're putting these points in here specifically for the immobilized enemies for 2 seconds. When it impacts, we're proccing this through enchantment only. And then we have our 3 points here in Inner Flames, maxed out Flame Wall with Mage's Flame Wall here, which makes things continue to burn after leaving the Flame Wall. And then we have our points here into Inferno, and we have 1 point in Fiery Surge, and we're maxing out Endless Fire and Warmth. And then of course we have our points in Combustion. For the Paragon itself, you want to start out here with Adept. This is just going to be giving you big damage on your mastery skills, as well as additional area of effect on the mastery skill. So that's going to be big to have an extra large flame wall. And then we want to be pushing here into Burning Instinct first for this mastery. And then we push all the way across up here to get Destruction. After getting Destruction here, you want to be coming down here over here to the left, putting in Control. Here, just big damage, and then you're going to be getting a lot of critical strike damage from this tree as well, which is going to be also stacking for burning over here, or for Burning Instinct. And then from here, you end up pushing up over here into Tactician. Just more additional damage here. You'll pretty much always have this up because you're going to be using a defensive skill pretty much every 4 seconds, so that's going to be fine. You end up pushing this up here. You want to push it up into Enchantment Master here. And then we end up pushing across this way in order to put in Exploit here for our last glyph. For leveling this build, you are pretty much going to be leveling on Flame Wall. I have a specific leveling build here covered in this Flame Wall leveling guide. It covers the whole leveling path. Pretty much when you start out with this build, you are going to be leveling with Frozen Orb until about level 15 until you pick up Flame Wall. Once you pick up Flame Wall, then you end up moving these points out of Frozen Orb, and you put a couple into Fireball as soon as you hit level 15 and go into your class quest. And then once you get that, as you start to push into level 30, you pick up and you start putting the points into Meteor so that you can put on Fireball and Meteor and Chance. And then the tree pretty much looks the same as the endgame tree on this. Things don't really change that much. It's just kind of the order you pick them in. You leave the movement speed on this early on, just because you're going to be leveling and you kind of have the extra points for that, and you're not min-maxing everything else yet on the defensive side of things. And then for your aspects, again, you pretty much just need to go and get your aspect of control, Edge Master's aspect, and Prodigy's aspect. For these, I've included them in the spreadsheet here, telling you which aspects to go get and what order to get them in. And you can kind of see these here. I took some screenshots of exactly where they are on the map, so you can find them. And yeah, that's that. If you have any questions about the build or any comments, leave them down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And other than that, see you in the next one.